All right, so I've got everything onto the cylinder head. I've got our fuel injectors in. I've got our little, I guess, adapter boxes. This is where your spark plugs are going to go down here. Fuel injectors are right here. I did have to pull it off the engine stand so that I could put my flywheel on. And I have it all on and mounted. Those bolts are torqued to 120 Newton meters. And they are new bolts, so that's all set up. Now when I'm doing my valve timing, I have my timing pin right here, and I also circled right here. This is where my timing to represent TDC. This pin is going to slide in from the back and slide through, and that actually locates my flywheel on TDC. All right, so the other thing I did is I washed up and I cleaned my timing Vanos parts right here. Now you got to be careful not to mix these up. They are intake and exhaust, and it took me about 20 minutes to figure out where they are actually marked. So if you do mix it up, this little plastic cover that's on here, you need to pop that off, and then it'll say intake or exhaust. Intake is German, EIN, and exhaust is AUX. So make sure you don't mix those up. I've got my valve timing brackets in with my cam set on TDC cylinder 1, top dead center compression. Then the last thing I need to do is take my little bracket, and what this does is these are the sensors that the computer is looking at. There's a little input sensor on each side. This is for the N55 engines, and I'm just going to sit that on, locate these pins into the holes, and you may have to move these around a little bit, and then press that down, and I'm just going to put in one nut. So now I've got everything timed on TDC. All I need to do is tighten my two bolts right here. I have my dummy tensioner in and set to 0.6 of a Newton meter of tension, so that's holding tension on the chain. And then all I got left to do is tighten these bolts, rotate the engine twice, and recheck my timing. All right, so my first torque, I've got my mandrel on, everything's lined up, chains are all locked in place. It's going to be 20 Newton meters. One. Okay, two. The next torque on these is 180 degrees, so that means we need to take our wrench, come all the way over. All right, so I've tightened both of my bolts. BMW likes their fasteners really, really tight. So don't be afraid, they won't break. Should use new bolts each time. Now I'm just going to pull off all of my mandrels, rotate the engine around a couple of times, make sure everything is settled, and recheck my timing.
So do you have to put that back on, or just the purple thing?
Everything back on. Okay. Don't have to screw it down. All right, with the front crank bolt, this is torqued to 100 Newton meters and then a 270 degree rotation. Right now I have 100 meter torque on it and a 90 degree rotation, and I'm going to complete it when I put the engine back in the car, just because my engine stand isn't strong enough to hold it, and I just don't have a really good answer for it. It is really, really tight. So it should be enough to hold our timing gear and everything in place. I've pulled the crank pin out. All of my timing gear off the front is out of there. So I'm just going to turn the engine over, make sure it rotates smoothly, and recheck my timing. Okay, we're coming back up to being twice around. My cams look like where they need to be. Make sure my timing pin's going to line up. Lines up nice. Check my cams. Come on.
Right in. What would you do if they didn't line up?
I would
Untorque these?
I'd loosen the bolts again. Loosen these, readjust, but that's it. We're all set.